What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot to get into in the world of volleyball. As tomorrow is the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. Which team will be hoisting up the championship placard in Long Beach, and which team will be falling just short? Also, there was a lot of volleyball that happened this past week as Cal Lutheran winds up winning their first ever national championship in the NCAA Division III final. We also had Orange Coast College winning the 3C2A state championship for the third straight year and making a load of history. We also have some high school boys volleyball to discuss as Loyola had a little bit of a scare against Huntington Beach, and we also had some NCAA beach volleyball action as USC rules the Pac-12 again. Now can they four-peat? And I'll be giving you my previews and prediction of some of these tournaments like the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament and the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. So hand me a volleyball, set the net, as I'm about to stir you up some volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday morning, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 244 of Set Point. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow iSports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok, so long as TikTok doesn't get taken down. We also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, Sports, and Radio in the search bar, like us, and then that's how you're able to follow us on Facebook. And we have a website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, soon to be 10 years in less than a month, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, like I did last week, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout to our two sponsors. Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky is our first sponsor, is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit plantjerky.net and place your order. In addition, prices are slashed, and if you buy an order's worth of $50 or more, you get it shipped for free. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Our second sponsor is Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add their smile when they receive it. If that's the case, then Seal the Deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts is just for you. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Follow them on Instagram at SealTheDeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Stamps. And the way you can follow Set Point on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie. And you can also follow Set Point on Instagram at set_point.IESR. And the way you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez1. And in addition, you could also become a member of the Supporters Club when it comes to Set Point. If you're listening live on Spreaker or you're listening on the playback on Spreaker, first and foremost, thank you. you also will notice that there is a support button. If you want to become a supporter of Set Point on IE Sports Radio, it costs $5 a month. This will get you access to past interviews not posted on Instagram and future episodes of Set Point Extra Points and other sort of exclusive episodes that I plan to be uploading this week, because I do plan to do some recaps of some of the NCAA tournament matches, so be on the lookout for that. So if you see any sort of, if you're on Spreaker and you see any sort of episodes that say for supporters only, that's how you're able to get access to them. Alright, but with all that said and done, let us begin. As looking at the chat room, Jen B says, "Good afternoon, Teran. Have a great show." I appreciate that. Alright, so let's talk a little NCAA men's volleyball, as this week is the big tournament, the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament, even though I would like to still call it the NCAA Men's Volleyball Tournament, but the correct vernacular is the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. It's going to be taking place at Long Beach. If you haven't bought your tickets, definitely do so, because they're going to be going by quick. So, it's all, today was, as of this recording, it was media day, and honestly, unfortunately I couldn't be there to attend it, but most of the teams were there, like Fort Valley State and UC Irvine. They were there. So all in all, for the whole media day thing, that happened at Long Beach State. So it's definitely going to be. It definitely was something special. So I wish I could have attended it, but it is unfortunate that I could not attend. So it is what it is. But all in all, I will just say, this is going to be a very fun event. If you have access to basically getting to these events, getting to the match, or if you're going to watch on NCAA.com, because that's the first two rounds, definitely do watch it. But looking at the tournament, it's an 8-team bracket. I already went over the bracket last week, so I know y'all are probably chomping at the bits, and y'all are probably wondering, where are our predictions? So it's time for me to make my predictions on who's going to win the whole shebang, because that's what y'all probably want, in my opinion. So let's start with the first matchup. So the first matchup will be at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be between Fort Valley State and top seed UCLA. Alright, so here's my thing with this matchup. I want to give Fort Valley State a good shot at winning, but at the same time, they're facing a very talented UCLA team. So, in my opinion, I feel that's going to be the biggest uphill climb, but Fort Valley State has nothing to lose, and they're not coming off of a loss like UCLA is. But I imagine UCLA is going to be extremely angry, and they're going to want to show that they truly belong in the tournament, and they want to show that they can repeat. Because if you remember correctly, the past few champions have been repeat champions. Prior to UCLA winning, Hawaii won back-to-back in 2022 and 2021. And then before the COVID year, which canceled everything, Long Beach State wound up winning in 2019 and 18. Ohio State wound up winning in 2017 and 18. I'm sorry, 2017 and 16. 2015 and 14 were UC Irvine's years. 13 and 12, or I'm sorry, 14 and 15 were Loyola's years, Loyola Chicago, and then 13 and 12 were UC Irvine's years. So I imagine UCLA wants to continue to follow that trend. But I got UCLA beating Fort Valley State in the opening round. It's nothing personal, but I feel that UCLA has a lot of firepower, and they want to prove that they still have a good shot at being repeat champions. So my prediction for UCLA Fort Valley State is UCLA wins. I'm not going to try to predict sets. Then we got this next matchup. UC Irvine, the 4 seed, taking on the 5 seed Penn State. Alright, this is probably the match of the first round. And honestly, I would not be surprised if this one went the distance. I think UC Irvine is a fantastic team, and they definitely deserve to be in the NCAA Men's Volleyball Tournament, or the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. But Penn State is also good. I will just say, Penn State definitely has some really good pieces like Toby Ezionu, John Kerr, Ryan Merck. Michael Schwobe has kind of come into his own after some growing pains early on. Owen Rose, he's definitely good. So I think this one's going to be a barn burner, but I have UC Irvine upending Penn State probably in 5. So It's nothing personal to Penn State. I love me some Penn State. I think they are they're the echelon of men's volleyball, or not the echelon, the golden standard of East Coast men's volleyball. But honestly, I feel that Penn State might fall just short, because Hilaire Henno is obviously one of a kind, but you also have Max Grigoriev, Cole Power digs the ball well, Brett Sherwood runs the offense. So I just think that UC Irvine is going to eke out this win. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hilaire Henno went for 40 kills, because he was named the off-the-block player of the year. And hopefully my ballot was turned in. I know I might have turned it in a little late. Yes, I will gladly say that. I turned in my ballot a little late, but I picked Hilaire Henno to win the off-the-block National Player of the Year. So there's that right there for UC Irvine and Penn State. I think that it's going to be a barn burner. I think this is the match of the first round, like I mentioned. Then next up, and by the way, that match starts at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Then we go to the next match. Long Beach State, the host team, taking on Belmont Abbey. All right, this is going to be another little, I wouldn't say interesting first round match, but it's basically one that is kind of a no-brainer. As much as I love Belmont Abbey, as much as they've done so well, I think Long Beach State is a machine, and they actually had 2 players voted as off-the-block Defensive Player of the Years, and those 2 players were Simon Torwey and Mason Briggs. So Torwey is the middle blocker who blocks practically everything and who basically just shovels the ball in the middle, and then Mason Briggs is the libero who basically keeps the ball from hitting the floor, and he passes really well. So obviously, those 2 are well-deserved. I imagine the voting was very close. But as for Long Beach State, Belmont Abbey, I picked Mason Briggs to win the off-the-block Defensive Player of the Year award. But as for Long Beach State, Belmont Abbey, I got Long Beach State winning. Again, Belmont Abbey has nothing to lose, but they are going to be on the road, and I imagine that pyramid is going to be packed even on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. So, yeah, the 5 p.m. Pacific time match is when Belmont Abbey and Long Beach State will be facing each other. And then the last matchup we have in the first round is Grand Canyon versus Ohio State. So, fun fact about Grand Canyon is that they actually used to be in the MIVA, and that's something I kind of learned when I conducted my interviews with Matt Worley and Kevin Birch. But this is going to be a very underrated matchup. I think this matchup is so underrated that I think this one could possibly go 5, if not 4. Ohio State definitely has a lot of experience on their team, and they have a load of talent. However, Grand Canyon serves super tough, and they have just as much talent as Ohio State does. And this is the last match of the day, as that will be a 7:30 p.m. Pacific start time. So to you East Coasters, or to those watching on Columbus or in Columbus, Ohio, I feel bad for you, but make sure you whip yourself up a cup of coffee, or you get a 5-hour energy. But for this matchup, this is kind of the best for last matchup, and as much as I said that UC Irvine Penn State is the match to watch for in the opening round, I think Ohio State Grand Canyon is just as good of a match. That being said, I got Grand Canyon advancing to the semifinals. I know I picked Ohio State to win the MIVA, but honestly, I think that's kind of where the buck stops, just because Grand Canyon is just too good. And you saw how they took down UCLA. They just served tough. They fed the ball to their middles. It's not just Camden Gianni carrying the work. It's Jackson Hickman, Cameron Thorne, Rico Wardlow. Nick Slight is a vastly underrated setter. He does a great job with that team and running the offense. So I think Grand Canyon gets it done, but I think it's at least going 4. Unfortunately, I'm going to be a little late to that matchup, and I'm probably going to miss the Belmont Abbey Long Beach State match, but it is what it is. Again, you can watch on NCAA.com, which I still don't agree with, but I got Grand Canyon beating Ohio State. So for the semifinals, I would have UCLA and UC Irvine facing one another. Now, this is definitely going to be a very fantastic matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams went toe-to-toe with one another. Hilaire Henno versus Ethan Champlin. But the thing about UCLA is that they have other players that step up, like Cooper Robinson or Zach Rama. Merrick McHenry does well in the middle. Grant Sloan has really adapted well to playing a new position that he's not used to playing, and he's done well after his shoulder surgery. And then Andrew Rowan continues to run that offense very effectively. And then the libero is still my biggest question mark for that team, as it's between Alex Knight and most likely Coleman McDonough. And then as for UC Irvine, it's obviously Hilaire Heno, Max Grigoriev, Will Darcy, Connor Campbell, Connor Dahm, Brett Sheward. Like I said, he runs the offense effectively. And then Cole Power, he's a vastly underrated libero. He was named All-American, and he definitely deserves it. But who do I have winning between UCLA and UC Irvine? This one's not going to be easy to predict, but I got UCLA winning it. As much as I like UC Irvine, as much as Hilaire Heno, who's just a powerhouse, and I'm just going to make this prediction, I think he gets AVCA Player of the Year. But as much of a great team as UC Irvine is, I think UCLA just has so much more experience on their team, and their team doesn't have a whole lot of experience in terms of the NCAA or the National Collegiate Tournament. But honestly, I think UC Irvine is going to be scratching and clawing their way to try to pull the upset. Some have UC Irvine advancing out of this, but I just think that UCLA just has a little bit more firepower. And you also got Ido David also waiting in the wings. Like, UCLA is just stacked across the board. They've got lots of depth on their team. And then the other semifinal will be Long Beach State Grand Canyon. So this is a rematch of last year's first or quarterfinal match between the two teams that made it as at-larges. But here's the thing. Grand Canyon, they have more experience. Everyone thought that they maybe would be taking a step back. But honestly, Grand Canyon has done phenomenally well. Same with Long Beach State. I think both of these teams will definitely deserve to be in the Final Four. My thing is for Long Beach State is they have to serve and pass well, and then same can be said for Grand Canyon. They have to get all their hitters involved, especially the middles. Like, the middle is probably going to be the thing that's going to win it for either team. But Long Beach State has a lot of firepower with Clark Godbold. He was named the Big West Conference Tournament MVP. They still have Sotir Shapani's All-American First Team. Simon Torwey, Darius McRaven, he's doing great. Aiden Knight runs the offense well. Skylar Varga has definitely been someone who has risen through the rankings. Nathan Harlan, I call him the Swiss Army knife. He does a lot of great things for Long Beach State. So, as much as I don't want to pick against Grand Canyon, I got Long Beach State beating Grand Canyon. So, that'll mean the final will be UCLA, the top seed, taking on the 2 seed Long Beach State. So, my thing for this matchup is this. It's the rubber match between these two teams. These two teams are rivals. These two teams have met in the National Collegiate Tournament the past couple years, both being in the semifinals, but I have them playing on the big stage. My thing for UCLA is this. They have to run their offense swiftly for the most part, and they have to be very effective with it. They have to keep the ball away from Mason Briggs. If they can do that, they're golden. Now, for Long Beach State, they have to be effective in terms of their passing and their running of their offense, too. And they have to put a lot of pressure on UCLA's block. I know UCLA has Merrick McHenry, and they have a bunch of other talented players, but I will just say that UCLA team defensively is just as good as their offense. So, for Long Beach State, they have to really keep UCLA on their toes, and they have to turn in that Long Beach grit. But the big question is, who do I have winning between UCLA and Long Beach State if the two make the championship? I think I got to give it to Long Beach State. First and foremost, they've got the home court. As much as I don't want them to break the trend of UCLA not repeating as state or national champions, I basically have to go with Long Beach State. I think Long Beach State has a lot more depth, and I think they're just more consistent. The problem with UCLA is that they just don't have the consistency, and then when they get down, they kind of start to wilt and wither. And that's no knock on John Speraw or any of his players. I think UCLA is a phenomenal team, but I think Long Beach State, being at the Pyramid, will definitely bring their A game, and I just feel that Long Beach State definitely has the experience factor. And Long Beach State also wants revenge for last year, because if you remember last year, UCLA smacked Long Beach State. And I'm not talking about beat them 3-0. They just flat out embarrassed them. I don't even think any of the sets, to my knowledge, wound up... I don't think Long Beach State even cracked 20 points in any of the sets. And let alone the sets were even close. I just think maybe the third set was just close in the beginning, but then UCLA really got their motors going. So I got Long Beach State winning it this year. I think the full experience is there. I think the last dance for all of those players on Long Beach State is there. I know the same can be said for UCLA, but I just think that Long Beach State has a lot of senior leadership. They also have underclassmen stepping up like Darius McRaven, Skylar Varga, he's also stepping up. Connor Bloom, as a serving specialist, he also steps up. Nato Dickinson could also provide some energy off the bench. So I'm going to take Long Beach State to win the whole thing. This is no knock on UCLA, but I just think Long Beach State, it's their time. I know they just recently won it in 2019, but they are going to put on for their fans. But again, if I'm wrong, I will gladly eat my crow. So there you have it right there for my National Collegiate Men's Volleyball prediction. Everything begins tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's going to be such a fun tournament. I cannot wait. So there's that right there for the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. So going over some NCAA Division III Men's Volleyball. Yes, the NCAA Division III, because it's still called that. The NCAA Division III National Championship was yesterday. It was being streamed on NCAA.com. It was between two teams that had not won the national championship, Cal Lutheran and Vassar. Cal Lutheran was actually making its first ever tournament appearance, as they're actually a freelance team. They're an independent team, while Vassar is in the UVC, and they wound up making the national championship for the first time in its program's history. And they've been in the semifinals in the past, but they've never won the championship. But in this matchup, Cal Lutheran was able to sweep Vassar 25-22, 25-23, and 25-23. The first set, Cal Lutheran, they just controlled most of that first set. They did everything correct. They served tough. Their big-time hitter, Michael Stahl, was just phenomenal. They made sure Vassar did not take the lead at any sort of point of the set, as the Kingsmen took that first set 25-22. Then the second set, it was a lot tighter and closer. Vassar kind of had the lead kind of late in the set, but then Cal Lutheran just started to really get it going. And unfortunately for Vassar, they missed a serve when they dodged 2 set points. But on the third one, they just missed the serve, which they'd love to have that serve back. That was kind of a running theme for both of these teams. They served tough, but sometimes their serves would be out. So Cal Lutheran took the second set 25-23. Then the third set, it was kind of like a boxing match. Both teams just trading blows. One team had the lead, the other team took it back, and so on and so forth. Cal Lutheran had match championship point at 24-22. Vassar dodged one. Cal Lutheran called timeout, and during a little bit of a rally, Vassar hit it wide. And here's the thing about this of NCAA Division III that most people probably don't know. There's no replay. There's no replay system in NCAA Division III. There's no Bolt 6 to say, oh, this is actually a touch, or this is not a touch. Oh, this ball hit the line. There's no instant replay, no challenges, nothing. You basically have to trust your instincts. You basically have to hope that the calls are in your favor. I don't agree with any instant replay regarding this whole thing, but that's just how it is, and I hope the NCAA can improve that going forward. But Cal Lutheran is the national champion in Division III in men's volleyball. Big win for the Kingsmen, as Michael Stahl led them with 23 kills. He hit 525. He had 4 digs. Stahl had half of Cal Lutheran's kills. That's just how big he was. Jordan Cooper and Ben Weber both had 7 kills. As a team, the Kingsmen hit 366. They only had 1 ace, but they were still serving tough. They had 8 blocks, and they were outdug by 2. Vassar, on the other hand, they had 5 blocks as a team. They had 6 aces, only missed 8 serves, as they were led by Colin Jones and Vaughn Ramsey, both having 11 kills. Gavin Akoto and Jacob Kim both had 8 kills. The Brewers hit 260 in the match, and they didn't play bad by any means. It's just that Cal Lutheran kind of had a leg up on them every step of the way for the most part. And when it came to danger zone time, Vassar just unfortunately ran out of time. But it was still a very entertaining match, albeit it had to be showed on NCAA.com, which I really wish NCAA men's volleyball would get a lot more national television recognition. So I'm sorry, but I still don't agree with all the NCAA men's volleyball matches being on NCAA.com. And then for the National Collegiate Final, it's going to be on ESPN2. I'm sorry, but I just don't agree with it. All right, but that's that for NCAA Division III men's volleyball. Ralph Cleese popped into the chat room. He said, "Good afternoon, Teran. Legend, have a great show. Go spike it." Thanks, Ralph. The terminology is go kill it, but whatever. I'm not going to judge. Anyway, so moving onward regarding our recaps. So next up, we got the 3C2A in men's volleyball to recap as their playoffs just ended. The California Community College Athletic Association playoffs is what the 3C2A is short for. So if you all remember, I picked Golden West and Orange Coast to advance to the championship. Well, San Diego Mesa had other plans, unfortunately, as the Olympians took down the Rustlers 25-14, 24-26, 25-22, and 25-18. I worked the scoreboard for the Final Four, so if you saw me, I was kind of locked in, even though I basically had my ups and downs when it came to that. But San Diego Mesa was led by Patrick Buckle, who had 16 kills. Ricardo Laura had 14 kills. And that's not some of their bigger hitters. Trevor Clark had 8 kills. Julian Montes had 8 kills. TJ Letuliga Gasanoa had 7 kills. Yes, that is one mouthful of a name right there. San Diego Mesa hit 429 while holding Golden West to 255, as they were digging the ball quite well. 28 digs, even though that's not ultimately high. The blocks were there for San Diego Mesa. They had 10 blocks as a team compared to Golden West 6. And the serving was also kind of there for both teams. San Diego Mesa was serving tough, even though they had 15 service errors compared to Golden West 13. Golden West was led by Curtis Harper, who had 15 kills. Ezra Vlad had 11 kills. My key thing for Golden West is this. If they wanted to win, they needed to run the middle. And they kind of did a good job of that. I mean, Ezra Vlad had 11 kills. He had no hitting errors, and he hit 786. But I just think that they could have ran the middle a little bit more. Aaron Green also had he had 5 kills. So 16 kills in the middle, that's not too terrible if you ask me. It's just that they're just so used to running the pins with Curtis Harper and Reggie Ahong, who had 8 kills. Jason Thompson had 7 kills. So that's how San Diego Mesa won that one. I will gladly say I was wrong about San Diego Mesa. Something I failed to recognize when it came to San Diego Mesa's team is that they have experience regarding them being in the 3C2A semifinals. Now, most of their team from a whole different team from compared to last year. They only had like 1 or 2 returners from last year's team. Everyone was basically a newcomer when it came to the semifinals. But Golden West hadn't made the semifinals since 2016, where they unfortunately wound up losing in 5 to the eventual champion Long Beach City. But San Diego Mesa, I think, kind of had that experience factor. I wouldn't say that Golden West played bad. I just think that when it came to serving and digging the ball, I think San Diego Mesa kind of occupied that category. And I was just impressed with San Diego Mesa. And I will gladly eat my crow. I was completely wrong about San Diego Mesa. I totally regret it in every aspect of the way. And to Dave Profit, the head coach, I'm sorry for picking against your team or any other San Diego Mesa fan. So that was that for that first semifinal. The other semifinal, by the way, that semifinal actually took approximately 2 hours. That almost was 2 hours, so an hour 50 minutes. Now, the other semifinal didn't take too long, as it was Long Beach City versus Orange Coast. It was a rematch of last year's 3C2A state final, and I will just say this one was good. I mean, it wasn't as good as the other semifinal, as Long Long Beach City, they actually had a newcomer to their team, Anthony Wong Orontes, who I don't know how he got back on that team, but I'm not going to talk about it. But Orange Coast took the first set 25-20. They dominated the second set 25-16. Long Beach knew they had their backs against the wall. They played they played as best as they could, but Orange Coast took that third set 25-22, winning off a walk-off block. The Pirates were led by Cole Hauser, who had 11 kills. He had a monstrous bounce from the back line. If you go back and watch the replay of that state championship, he just literally took off from the back line, and he let one of the defenders have it. And I just gotta say, I feel bad for that defender. The middles were also pretty good as well, even though the numbers don't show it. Andrew Robbins had 5 kills, Jacob Charette only 2 kills, but he served definitely tough. He had a service ace, and he had 6 blocks. Miles Henderson had 6 kills. Cam Vicillian had 5 kills. Trent Dalfner 4 kills. The Pirates hit 426 while holding Long Beach to only 198, as the Vikings were led by Cameron Tafuga, who had 10 kills. Mohamed Benkrid, who was named All-Tournament, he had 9 kills. I should also mention that Curtis Harper of Golden West was named All-Tournament. Shane Nem and Luca Mamone both had 6 kills, but unfortunately it was just not enough. I will say this for Long Beach City and their fans. They showed up and showed out, because I feel that there was more in attendance for that semifinal matchup than the final. So the final consisted of Orange Coast and San Diego Mesa. So as I mentioned, I worked the scoreboard for this one. So the first set, Orange Coast was able to take it 25-22. Now, San Diego Mesa was not out of that first set throughout a majority of it. They were never out of it. The only problem was that they missed 5 serves in that opening set. Keep in mind they lost the first set 25-22. But unfortunately, you just can't miss 5 serves against a good team like Orange Coast, as that wound up nipping them in the butt. But I will say Mesa has a lot of resilience. They were down 21-18, tied it up at 21-21, and eventually the Pirates just took that first set 25-22 off a 4-1 run. And then the second set, it was just all Orange Coast. They were just serving tough. Jacob Charette was also serving up a storm. Landon Seymour also had some good serves, even though he float serves it, but no problem with that. The Pirates took that second set 25-13, and I was just perplexed by that. Then the third set, it was a back-and-forth set. Eventually, Orange Coast had match point at 24-22. San Diego Mesa dodged it. And then eventually, Orange Coast wound up winning the match with a kill in the middle from Jacob Charette. But it was a battle in that third set. I think Mesa led by as many as 3. But Orange Coast seemed to have the answer, and they were a step ahead even when they were down. As Orange Coast wound up completing their three-peat, and they also finished the season undefeated at 20-0, as they were led by Andrew Robbins, who had 13 kills. He hit .929, and he had 14 swings, so he had no errors, 14 swings, 13 kills. He practically was a superstar. Cam Vicillian also had 11 kills. He hit .471. Cole Hauser had 9 kills. He was named the all-tournament team. Even though Miles Henderson didn't really have the best match, he had 4 kills, and he had 5 digs to lead the Pirates in that category. Cole Hauser, like I mentioned, was all-tournament. Landon Seymour, he had 25 assists, 2 service aces, and 1 dig. He was named all-tournament. The MVP, the tournament MVP was Jacob Charette, who had 4 kills, 2 service aces, but he was just phenomenal all-tournament. It's very rare to see a middle blocker who's only a freshman get the tournament MVP, but Jacob Charette is a one of one. In the volleyball world where middle blockers are starting to become a little, I wouldn't say obsolete, but not being used offensively, Jacob Charette was definitely used, as well as Andrew Robbins. Andrew Robbins was an unsung hero. Trent Dalfner, I thought, was an unsung hero. He had 5 kills. He was just swinging from the right side every time he and Jace Fukushima came in for Landon Seymour and Cam Vicillian. So I will just say Orange Coast really performed well. And in addition to winning that state championship, that was actually the school's 100th state championship, as they became the first 3C2A school to reach 100 state championships. So bravo to Orange Coast, especially its men's volleyball team, on making history, not just in terms of winning the school's 100th state championship, but they also became the first team to finish undefeated since the 2006 Long Beach City team, and also the 2001 LA Pierce team also finished undefeated with the likes of David Niffen and David Hunt, who were on that team. But Orange Coast now becomes the third team to finish a season undefeated and win state. San Diego Mesa was making its first ever appearance in the state championship match in men's volleyball as Trevor Clark led the way with 12 kills. TJ Latuli Gasanoa added 7 kills. Julian Montes had 6 kills. Clark was named All-Tournament, and TJ Latuli Gasanoa was also named All-Tournament. My problem is for San Diego Mesa is that they faced a bunch of players with a lot of experience in terms of the state championship match. I will say this for San Diego Mesa, they weren't bad by any means. They hit 323. They did have 2 service aces compared to Orange Coast's 9. Yeah, OCC had 9 aces. They only missed 8 serves. San Diego Mesa missed 9 serves. Mesa also did not dig the ball well. I interviewed Dave Profit after the match. He said his team prides itself in digging the ball for the most part. They only had 9 digs. And one of them came in that final rally, again, which the Pirates clinched the championship. The blocks were in favor of San Diego Mesa, as they had 6 blocks compared to OCC's 3. But another problem that I had was that San Diego Mesa was not serving the ball to Miles Henderson. They only served Miles 4 times that entire match. And he's not one of, and this is no knock on Miles Henderson, but he's not one of OCC's better passers. So I think if San Diego Mesa serves the ball to Miles Henderson, I think they might have a better shot at least extending the match. But I will say this, it's only the beginning for them. They don't even lose that many players to graduation. They returned the Twin Towers, who I call Julian Montes and Trevor Clark, and they're going to be a problem going forward. I think they're changing the trajectory of San Diego men's volleyball on the junior college stage. Because normally when it came to the junior college stage in terms of men's volleyball via the 3C2A, San Diego wasn't high on the list. Because when you think of 3C2A men's volleyball, you think of schools like Orange Coast College, Long Beach City College, maybe Irvine Valley. Unfortunately, the San Diego schools don't really come to mind, but San Diego Mesa is definitely changing the trajectory in terms of that aspect. And I definitely got to give it up to Dave Profit. He does a great job with that program. He's a San Diego Mesa alum himself. I definitely think he's going to turn that program into a true title contender. And making the semifinals for the past 2 seasons and making the final in their first ever appearance is quite phenomenal. Unfortunately, they just ran to a buzzsaw who had home court advantage, but there will be better days ahead for the Olympians, and they will be back on that big stage. Guarantee it. Alright, but that is that for some 3C2A men's volleyball. So now let's discuss some NCAA beach volleyball. So a lot of the conference tournaments were this past weekend, and honestly, some of them were rather impressive. Like, some of them were just straight up phenomenal. Some actually kind of came down to the last pair, and then some in the final were actually just straight up sweep. So North Florida, Hawaii, Florida State, TCU, Chattanooga, USC, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Georgia State, and LMU were all the automatic qualifiers. So there are only going to be 6, if not 7, if not 8 at-larges in terms of the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament, because they don't use the vernacular of NCAA beach volleyball either. So in terms of the bracket, the 1 seed was kind of obvious. USC was the number 1 overall seed. The 2 seed was UCLA. The 3 seed was Stanford. 4 seed was Florida State. Cal Poly, despite not winning the Big West Conference Tournament, they were the 5 seed. The 6 seed was TCU, which wound up winning their conference, the Conference USA, in their inaugural year. The 7th seed was Cal, which obviously came from the Pac-12, which is not going to be called that next year. 8th seed was LMU. 9th seed was Hawaii. 10th seed, Long Beach State. 11th seed, is LSU, 12 seed is Arizona State, 13 seed Washington, 14 seed Georgia State, 15 seed Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and then there's a 16 and 17 seed, which is North Florida and Chattanooga. So those two get to face each other in the opening round on May 3rd. And all this is taking place in Gulf Shores, Alabama. And then the winner of North Florida, Chattanooga, will get to face USC pretty much right after that. 2 hours before that. Or 2 hours after that. So all these first round matches are going to be on ESPNU, except for LSU TCU. That's going to be on ESPN2. And then the second round, which is May 4th, as well as the semifinals, that's going to be on ESPN2. And then the final, the national championship, on May 5th, which is a Sunday, that's going to be on ESPN. So I'm going to get this off my chest right away. I don't agree with ESPN, with the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball having more recognition than NCAA men's volleyball. Don't get me wrong, I'm not ragging on NCAA beach volleyball for having a lot of television coverage, but where in Jupiter's jingle shoot is the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball television coverage? Why do we not get ESPN2 for the first round or the second round? At least put it on ESPN Plus. That's just garbage that NCAA men's volleyball just continues to get the shaft. I get it. There's no big platform that's promoting National Collegiate men's volleyball, but it needs and deserves the recognition that National Collegiate men's volleyball or NCAA women's volleyball deserves. I just think that NCAA men's volleyball continues to get the shaft, but I'm going to do my darndest to continue to promote the heck out of NCAA men's volleyball, and who knows, maybe one day it will get the justice that it deserves. I'm not going to complain that the NCAA or the National Collegiate men's volleyball tournament is going to be on ESPN2, because at least it gets that sort of coverage. But the fact that it has to battle between the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament is kind of absurd, if you ask me. But all in all, that's just how it is, and my goal will still be the same goal, is to promote and support NCAA men's volleyball, because I'm all about growing the game of all volleyball, and nothing is going to stop me from doing that. But anyway, that's just my little qualm right there. I still think that, I'm not trying to say that the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament doesn't deserve the coverage. I'm saying that National Collegiate Men's Volleyball and their tournament deserves more coverage on TV. Because if you show it on a .com website, it's going to cause a lot of traffic, and then there's going to be lag, and then eventually it's not going to be watchable. That's why if you are in the Long Beach area, definitely do attend the tournament in Long Beach. It's a great venue, and it's going to be some high-level men's volleyball. And I really am hoping the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Final shatters records on ESPN2. I don't care what it takes. I want some records shattered ASAP. Alright, that's enough of me ranting about that. Alright, so now for my predictions for the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Tournament. So, we'll start with the opening round, or the play-in. North Florida versus Chattanooga. I can't really predict this too much, but I'm going to say North Florida based on record and based on, I think, more often than not, we see 16 seeds upend 17 seeds, even though we've seen a couple 17 seeds upend the 16 seeds and maybe 18 seeds upend 15 seeds. But honestly, I think North Florida gets it done. However, no matter who wins between North Florida and Chattanooga, I got SC advancing out of the first round. Then we go to LMU Hawaii. This is the battle of two conference champions. And I'm just going to say, this is going to be a darn good match if you ask me. I'm really looking forward to what LMU and Hawaii can do. But I got LMU advancing. I think Hawaii is a good team, but they just don't have the it factor against some of these big dog teams. I know they beat Cal Poly in the Big West Conference Tournament, but Cal Poly's kind of been a little bit up and down. Speaking of Cal Poly, they face Arizona State in the opening round. Even though I just said Cal Poly can be a little up and down, they've been up and down against the Big West Conference. They're not facing a Big West Conference opponent. They're facing Arizona State. As great of a season as Arizona State has had with them upending Stanford, I think Cal Poly gets the job done. I think with them having Lindsey Sparks paired up with Quinn Perry, I think Cal Poly is just such a problem. And they've got other talent across the board as well. I think this is Cal Poly's time to go fairly deep. Next up, we have Florida State versus Washington. Even though Florida State isn't the same Florida State as they have been in the past, I think they're still going to advance out of the first round. Washington is a good team, but they're not the greatest and sharpest team. Against Florida State, I feel that's a complete mismatch. Then we have Georgia State versus Stanford. As scrappy of a team as Georgia State is, I like them. They are the Sun Belt Conference champions. This is Stanford at their best. This is probably the best Stanford team anyone has ever seen, so give me Stanford in this one. Then we have the battle of the purple teams, TCU versus LSU. As much as I like LSU, I think TCU is just going to tear down the competition. I think TCU is just too good for LSU. LSU has been a little bit too sporadic, if you ask me. They don't really... I mean, they're not bad by any means, but they've had some questionable losses to teams that I think they should be beating. So give me TCU over LSU in that matchup. Then we have this matchup, Long Beach State versus Cal. If you all remember last year, Long Beach State and Cal faced one another, where Long Beach State just lost by the skin of their teeth. You know, I really think this is probably the match of the first round. I say that for a lot of close seed matches, but I will just say this is going to be a barn burner. Excuse me for 1 second. But yeah, sorry, I'm losing my voice a little, but I'm just going to say, I think this matchup is definitely going to be one to remember. If you all remember last year, Cal, like I mentioned, they barely beat Long Beach State. Long Beach State has had some pretty good wins. They've beaten LMU, they pushed TCU to the brink. This is certainly not going to be an easy one to predict, but I'm going to say Long Beach State upsets Cal. I think if most of those players are back, which they are, I know they only have 2 seniors this year, but I think that's going to be on that loss from last year is going to be on the back of the mind of those players and that program altogether. And they know that they are a good team, and they know that they can advance out of the first round. This is nothing against Cal, but without Ainsley Riddell, who transferred to a USC, I don't think they're still the same team, in my opinion. They're still a good team. I'll give them that much, but I just think that this is Long Beach State's time. I feel Long Beach State definitely is due for a little bit of a semi-big win, because if you remember, they played Hawaii very tough in that Big West Conference Championship match. The only problem is that they lost on the 4s, and they were already down fairly big in the 5s, and if they don't lose the 4s matchup, then Long Beach State wins, because they were leading the duel 2-1. They lose the 4s matchup, and then the 5s matchup was pretty much a rapola. And they lost the third set in that 4s matchup 16 to 14. So, if I'm being 100% honest, I think Long Beach State kind of shakes off that loss and they're able to prove themselves. I'm not going to say that Long Beach State are world beaters, but I think they can definitely beat Cal. I think Cal is definitely beatable, and Cal is definitely battle tested, I will say that, being in the Pac-12, which I don't think is ultimately as comparable to the Big West, but I think Long Beach State definitely has a phenomenal team. My only concern for Long Beach is that they're not playing in Long Beach. They're playing in Gulf Shores, Alabama, so they got to bring their A game. Next year it'll be in Huntington Beach, by the way. This tournament will be in Huntington Beach. And then lastly, we have Texas A&M Corpus Christi taking on UCLA. This is kind of a no-brainer. I know Texas A&M Corpus Christi has had a great year, but UCLA, they're on a mission, so give me UCLA over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Then in the second round, we have USC. Well, I like how it's called second round, even though it's quarterfinals. I would have USC and LMU taking on one another. If you know the lore behind USC versus LMU in beach volleyball, you will know that USC has never lost to LMU in beach volleyball. That trend is going to continue as I got SC advancing to the semifinals. And then I have Cal Poly and Florida State in the quarterfinals. This is going to be the boldest prediction I will have ever made. But I have Cal Poly upsetting Florida State. If, barring no upset from Cal Poly against Arizona State, I got Cal Poly beating Florida State just because I think Cal Poly is a whole different team. I think now that they're in the tournament, they have a whole different trajectory. And I don't think Florida State is the same Florida State team that they have been in years past. Don't get me wrong, they have a good amount of returners such as Maddie Anderson, but I just think that this Florida State looks a little bit different. I think Cal Poly, with the Lindsey Sparks effect, just looks so much better. And under a phenomenal coach such as Todd Rogers, who, shame on me, I didn't know who that was at first, he is going to definitely have his team rearing to go. And Cal Poly doesn't have much to lose when facing Florida State. So give me the Mustangs to upend the Seminoles. And then we have Stanford taking on TCU, if my prediction holds correctly, which it should. For me, Stanford, this is their best team in quite a while, and TCU, they just don't have the same team as they've had in years past. I will say this should be a good duel. This might be an underrated duel, but I will also just say I think Stanford advances to the semifinals. I think Stanford is just too good. Being led by Kate Riley, I think this team is just on a mission. And then in the last quarterfinal, I would have Long Beach State taking on UCLA. No matter who comes out on top between Long Beach State and Cal, I have UCLA advancing to the semifinals. This is no disrespect between Long Beach State or Cal if they advance, but I think UCLA has too much firepower, especially for Long Beach State. Nothing against them, but I just think UCLA, with all that talent on their team, such as Devin Newberry, Lexi Denneberg, Maggie Boyd, Jessie Smith, the list goes on and on. UCLA is just too stacked, and they're too deep for Long Beach State or Cal. So give me UCLA to advance to the semis. And then I would have USC versus Cal Poly in the semifinals. The first time these two teams met, and I think the only time, USC took down Cal Poly 3-2, albeit I think they clinched the duel prior to that. I think USC, even though Cal Poly has the Lindsey Sparks effect, I think USC is just too deep. Because remember who they have. They have Delaney Maple, they have Megan Kraft, they have the Norse twins, Audrey and Nicole. They have the Maddie girls, Maddie Kriz and Madison White. They're pretty much stacked across the board for the most part. The only thing that I have a little concern for are their 4s and 5s, but I think their 1s, 2s, and 3 pairs are definitely going to be on display. So give me USC to advance to the national championship. And then I have Stanford, and then there's Stanford UCLA in the semifinals. All right, Stanford UCLA is going to be a very good matchup. UCLA has lost to Stanford a couple times, but UCLA is still playing some of its best beach volleyball. I would not be surprised if Stanford made UCLA sweat for that win. But that being said, I got UCLA advancing to the national championship. I basically said on X, formerly known as Twitter, those two teams, USC and UCLA, are on a war path to one another. They're on the path of destiny to face one another in the national championship. And it's only fitting that USC and UCLA face each other because those have been the two dominant teams for the most part. I know UCLA had a couple losses to Stanford. I know they also lost 3 times to USC. And I know SC also lost to LSU, which I thought was a definite shocker right there. And I know they've lost a few times to UCLA as well, but honestly, I got it would be a little weird not seeing USC and UCLA in the national championship match. It just would feel not right seeing USC and UCLA. Because the two teams are 3-3, so we need the final rubber match. This would be Game 7 of a 7-game series in the NBA playoffs. But for USC UCLA, this is going to be tough. I mean, their ones pairs are so phenomenal. USC's ones pairs are so phenomenal with Megan Kraft and Delaney Maple. But UCLA's one pair with Maggie Boyd and Lexi Denneberg, that is basically they're just as good. Maddie Kriz and Maddie White versus Perry Brennan and Devin Newberry. That's so tough to predict. I think on paper, Devin Newberry and Perry Brennan occupy the 3s pair. But Maddie Kriz and Maddie White really showed some chops in the Pac-12 tournament. Though that match never got concluded because the 3 and 5 pair finished first, and then the 1 pair I think finished following the 5 pair. Speaking of the 3 pair, the Audrey Norris and Nicole Norris would be facing Brower and Smith, Jesse Smith, and I unfortunately, sorry to say this, but unfortunately I don't know the first name of Brower, but Brower Smith versus the Norris twins. Look, I really want to think that UCLA has a shot in this, but I think the Norris twins are starting to get better regarding them facing UCLA. Because when I saw them face each other, when I saw the Norris twins face the 3 pairs regarding UCLA at USC, I just kind of was a little surprised. I was like, why are they not looking as good as I would think they are? And then eventually they closed it out, but unfortunately it just took a little adapting and whatnot. So Kenzie Brower? Yeah, Brower. Kenzie Brower and Jesse Smith take on the Norris twins if Jenny Johnson-Jordan doesn't switch anything up before the match. So I think the Norris twins at the 3 position, no matter who is thrown there, unless it's like Devin Newberry and Maggie Boyd, I think they occupy the 3 spot. The 4 spot is Tessa Van Winkle and Jaden Whitmarsh taking on Ashley Patter and Grace Sates. No matter what, unless Dane Blanton switches something, I think the 4 pair belongs to UCLA. I think Tessa Van Winkle and Jaden Whitmarsh are phenomenal. They're a deadly duo with one another. So give me Tessa Van Winkle and Jaden Whitmarsh. The 5s are so unpredictable just because that could be pretty much anybody. You have, for USC, you have Madison Gollinger and Mabin Thomas. And then as for UCLA, you have the likes of Alden and Miskowski, Natalie Miskowski, and whatnot. So the 5s pair is so unpredictable. I mean, the 5 pair is kind of the one that is kind of doesn't get the love, which I feel bad for, but they eventually. Ensley Alden is her name. So Ensley Alden, a redshirt freshman. So Ensley Alden and Natalie Miskowski would be playing Madison Goliner and Mabin Thomas. This one's so tough to predict. I don't even know who's going to occupy the 5. So I give UCLA between the breakdown between USC and UCLA, I give the edge to the 4s regarding UCLA. The 2s, well, actually, no. UCLA has the 2s locked up, and then I think the 4s would get locked up by UCLA. But I think 1 and 3 is definitely USC has that one on lock, unless Blanton switches the Norris twins to the 2s, which can happen. I think the Norris twins were the 2 pair because. In reality, the 2s pair is like the second best pair. The 1s pair is your best pair facing one another. But for my conclusion, I gotta go with USC. I think USC just has a little bit more oomph in the tank. And as much as I don't want to pick against UCLA, I hate picking against UCLA, I just think that USC just has a little bit more in the tank. Now, the Norris twins, I imagine the Norris twins and Kraft and Maple will be winning their little matchup. But what's really going to matter is the 5 pair and the 3 pair. Or I'm sorry, not the 5 pair and the 2 pair. I think the Maddie girls are definitely good. And the 5 pair is going to be interesting because it's been shuffled around. We've seen either Ainsley Riddell there. We've seen Molly Phillips there. But honestly, I think Dane Blanton is going to continue to roll with Mabin Thomas and Maddie Goliner. But I think for me, SC just takes it all. I think it's going to be very close. I wouldn't be surprised if it was decided in the final match of the duel, like last year. But I think SC just has a little bit more in the tank. I think UCLA next year, maybe going forward, will definitely have a shot at winning it all. Because this is basically the last dance for both of these talented teams. But I think this is kind of USC's time to four-peat and make history. But that's going to do it for my predictions for the NCAA Women's Volleyball Beach Volleyball Tournament. So let's take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, let's give my voice a little bit of a rest. But when we come back, let's talk some NCAA or NAIA men's volleyball. Let's also talk some high school boys volleyball. Let's talk a little Pro Volleyball Federation, and let's talk some NVA. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cal Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always willing to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows as I'm with you all for another 25 minutes before I turn things over to Adam Karnick and Chi-Town Weekly. Alright, so now let's discuss a little NAIA men's volleyball. And I'm going to try to speed this up a little just because we only have 25 minutes before Mr. Adam Karnick takes over and gives us his daily dose of weekly Chicago sports talk. So, the NAIA tournament or pool format has been released. So, Pool A consists of the top seed Masters College, Jamestown of North Dakota, and Mount Mercy of Iowa. Then Pool B consists of Vanguard, Georgetown of Kentucky, and Lawrence Tech of Michigan. Then Pool C consists of Grandview of Iowa, St. Xavier of Illinois, Westcliff of California. And then Pool D consists of Ottawa of Arizona, William Penn of Iowa, and Reinhardt of Georgia. Mike Pat pops in the chat room. He says, has FSU won it all yet? Well, I'm just going to say, go back and listen to my NCAA beach volleyball prediction. You're probably not going to like what you hear, but let's just say that might raise a couple of eyebrows from you. But FSU is in the NCAA beach volleyball tournament, so here's hope, and they're the 4 seed, so here's hoping they can go deep. So back to NAIA men's volleyball. So here's my thing. The Masters College has been pretty much eating everybody up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's what you all need to know. Vanguard is the reigning champ. Grandview is back as they wound up winning the whole thing in 2021 and 2022. And then Ottawa of Arizona, they are basically in the last dance of their head coach, Kyle Steele, who's also the head coach of the Florida Southern Exposure. But here's how pool play works regarding the NAIA men's volleyball tournament. So, pools of 3, whoever comes out with the best record advances to the semifinals. And I imagine it's going to be Pool A versus Pool D, and then Pool B versus Pool C in the semifinals. And then the winners of the semifinals advance to the championship, and then the winner of the national championship is basically your 2024 NAIA men's volleyball champion. So, Pool A, I got the Masters College winning that one. I would be stunned if they wound up crumbling at this point of the season. Then we have Vanguard, Georgetown, and Kentucky. I got Vanguard winning this one, even though they have kind of been tripped up by Ottawa as well as the Masters College. I think Vanguard takes down their pool. I think with the cannon that is Will Anderson, they're not going to skip a beat. They just have to give him the support, like players such as Glenn Linden and Ryan Smith and whatnot. So then Pool C, this one's kind of tough. Westcliff, St. Xavier, and Grandview are all pretty good, but who am I kidding? Grandview is going to win this one. I think Grandview always is a fantastic team, and if you remember, they wound up winning the whole shebang a couple years back. So Pool C, I think Grandview wins that one. And then Pool D, you've got Ottawa of Arizona, William Penn, and Reinhardt. As much as I hate being biased toward Kyle Steele and Ottawa, I think Ottawa, they know that this is their coach's last year, and they want to send him off with a ring. So give me Ottawa of Arizona to beat William Penn and Reinhardt, or at least win Pool D, because you never know with teams that tie for first at 1-1. So I basically would have the Masters College taking on Ottawa in the semifinals, and Vanguard and Grandview facing one another. So for the semifinal one between Masters and Ottawa, Ottawa has not really had an answer to the Masters College as of this season, and I don't think it's going to happen now. So I got the Masters College beating Ottawa. And then for the other semifinal, I have Vanguard and Grandview. This one's going to be a barn burner, and I would not be surprised if Vanguard and Grandview went 5. But I got the Lions of Vanguard upending Grandview, the Vikings, in in the semis. And then this is another collision course matchup between Masters College and Vanguard. Now, these two teams met in the semifinals last year. Vanguard managed to beat them in 5. These two teams have met 3 times this season. Vanguard reverse swept them the first go-around. And then the second go-around in Santa Clara, the Masters College wound up winning. Look, this is so tough to predict. I really think that the Masters College is just stacked all across the board. But Vanguard, being in its last year in the NAIA, I think they want to go out on top. But I think this is the Masters College's time. Don't get me wrong, and this is probably going to get me banned from most Vanguard matches in men's volleyball. I think Vanguard is a fantastic team, but I think the Masters College has the formula to beat Vanguard. And it sucks because I really hate picking against Vanguard just because they've kind of grown accustomed to seeing me at their matches. But I think the Masters College, when I look at that match, I saw they were dominating. Oh, okay, not dominating, but they were strong in the first couple sets. And in the third set, Vanguard was serving tough. You also got to remember that Vanguard and the Masters College played in a low-ceiling high school gymnasium the first go-around. So now that the Masters College and Vanguard aren't playing in a low-ceiling gymnasium, I think the Masters College is going to be raring to go. And the Masters College, I'm going to pick them to win it all. I think the Masters College has a lot of talent and depth on their team. I think Vanguard is also deep too, but I think for the Masters College, they just have the answer for Vanguard. And that's no knock against them, but I just feel that the Masters College, it's their time to shine. I mean, they wound up winning the regular season GSAC title. They wound up winning the regular season GSAC, or the GSAC tournament. And now I think what's next on their docket is the NAIA National Championship. And the Masters College has beaten NCAA programs such as CSUN and Pepperdine this season. And their only 2 losses are to Concordia Irvine, which was the second of a back-to-back, and then Vanguard, which was played in a high school gymnasium which had a low ceiling. All right, but that's that for the NAIA men's volleyball action. Pool play begins tomorrow, being, as of this recording, that would be April 30th, and then it continues on up until Thursday, May 2nd, and if there are any tiebreakers, that will be on May 3rd. The national championship match, from what I saw, is going to be on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, if not Sunday. It's actually going to be televised nationally. It's going to be on ESPN3. But Huddle is actually going to be the live stream service for the NAIA men's volleyball tournament, which it's actually a streamer service. You have to pay to watch it, which I don't necessarily agree. Single day passes can be purchased for $9.95, and then the pool play package will be for $29.99, which I think is complete dog water. But at least the national championship match in the NAIA men's volleyball side of things is going to be on ESPN3, which isn't bad. All right, but that's going to do it for the NAIA men's volleyball side of things. So as for NAIA women's volleyball in beach volleyball, NAIA women's beach volleyball, they actually concluded their beach volleyball invitational, which I think that's kind of the equivalent of the NAIA championship, just because beach volleyball isn't an official NAIA sport, which I think is stupid. But in terms of that, they actually had pool play. They had pool play this past week, which consisted of Corbin, the 1 seed, Ottawa of Arizona, the 2 seed, Park of Missouri, the 3 seed, Arizona Christian, the 4 seed, Weber International, the 5 seed, St. Catherine, the 6 seed, which unfortunately is closing its doors, which I think is a terrible decision. Vanguard was the 7 seed, and Ave Marie from Florida is the 8 seed. So I'm going to skip through all the pool play matches just because the quarterfinal, there are quarterfinals and semifinals and finals. So no matter what your record is in pool play, you still go to the quarterfinals, which I think is a pretty good touch. So in the first quarterfinal, Vanguard defeated Weber International 3-1. In the second quarterfinal, Arizona Christian defeated St. Catherine 3-1. Very sad way to go out for St. Catherine. Corbin defeated Park 3-1. And then Ottawa of Arizona defeated Ave Marie 3-2. So that basically boiled down to the final pair, but in the end, Ottawa was able to eke out the win. Then the first semifinal, Vanguard defeated Arizona Christian 3-2. A lot of Golden State Athletic Conference teams in the semifinals. The only one was Corbin, which unfortunately lost to Ottawa of Arizona 3-2. So nice little barn burner in the semifinals. And then the championship match, we had Vanguard defeating Ottawa of Arizona 3-2 as three out of the five matches in the duel were decided 2-1, and Vanguard eventually wound up winning the 5-pair 2-1, where they wound up winning the 1 and 3-pair 2-1 or 2-0. So Vanguard is the quote-unquote NAIA Women's Volleyball Beach Volleyball Invitational champion. I imagine that's the equivalent of winning the national championship, but there you have it right there. And I think that's pretty good right there. I actually kind of followed it. I didn't really see it all being live streamed and whatnot, but I don't even know if it was live streamed. It's so difficult to live stream beach volleyball when you don't have the technology and you don't have the market to do so. So Vanguard wins the NAIA Women's Beach Volleyball Invitational, which I imagine is like the national championship, but I digress. All right, but that's that for some NAIA beach volleyball. So jumping over to some high school volleyball. Yes, I will include high school boys volleyball. The CIF Southern Section playoffs in Division 1 just were underway. It all started on Wednesday when pool play began. So pool play is basically as follows. It's basically the best team, the team with the best record advances to the CIF Southern Section Division 1 final. It's the second year they've implemented this. They might take away pool play and just replace it with a bracket, but it'd probably be like 8 teams. So on last Wednesday, we had Loyola outlasting Huntington Beach in 5 sets. We had Newport Harbor taking down Mater Dei in 3 sets. Corona Del Mar took down Edison in 3 sets. And then Miracosta of Manhattan Beach took down Tesoro in 3 sets. So tomorrow, as of this recording, being Tuesday, April 30th, the second round of pool play will begin. That'll consist of Loyola taking on Mater Dei, which Mater Dei is actually the only team to beat Loyola this season. Huntington Beach playing at Newport Harbor, which is going to be a barn burner. You have Corona Del Mar hosting Tesoro and Miracosta hosting Edison. And then Saturday, it's going to be Loyola hosting Newport Harbor, Huntington Beach hosting Mater Dei, Corona Del Mar playing at Miracosta, and Tesoro hosting Edison. So the fact of the matter is, all you need to do is finish top 3 in the pool, and then you advance to state. If you finish dead last in your pool, you deservingly do not go to state, and your season comes to an end. But for Tuesday, I think Newport Harbor Huntington Beach is going to be the tough one to predict. Both teams are now at full strength, and, well, I think for the most part, Newport didn't really play Jack Vonderay that much, who's bound for USC, but I will just say that one's going to be a barn burner, and don't be surprised if that one goes 5. And then Loyola Mater Dei should also be interesting, but I think Loyola's going to win that one. Corona Del Mar should handle Tesoro, and Miracosta should handle Edison, even though Edison has their best team in, like, forever. Now for the final pool play match. Or the final pool play matches. And here's my prediction for who advances to the Division 1 championship. I got Loyola coming out of Pool A. Now, this is probably going to land a whole lot of hate from me regarding the Newport Harbor people, because I am a Newport Harbor alum, for those that don't know. But I think Loyola's just too good, and Newport Harbor has to play on the road in Loyola. Sean Kelly is the number 1 recruit, and honestly, I don't know if Newport Harbor has the answer for that team. Don't get me wrong, it's not because everyone who's speculating why Loyola had to go 5 with Huntington Beach, it's because Huntington Beach goes 5 with practically everybody. Most of their matches in league were 5-setters, if not half of them. But I will say, I think Loyola comes out on top. Even though Newport Harbor's been battle-tested, Loyola has the home court, and Sean Kelly wants to win a CIF Southern Section championship. And then the other semifinal, or the quote-unquote semifinal, between Loyola and Miracosta, or I'm sorry, not Loyola Miracosta, Miracosta Corona Del Mar, that one's going to be such a tough one to predict. Miracosta has the home court, but I'm going to say I think Corona Del Mar makes it to the Division I final. I think this is Corona Del Mar's year. Even though Sterling Foley has to literally carry that team night in and night out, he can carry that team. Now, I will just say, Miracosta has a lot of talented players like Johnny Dykstra, who's going to SC, Victor Loyola, who's going to Long Beach State. Miracosta is stacked across the board. And like I've mentioned, everyone thought that, or some people thought that without Tread Rosenthal, Miracosta wouldn't be as good. But Miracosta is still very good as advertised. So I think, with that being said, Corona Del Mar, I think, gets some added help from Everett Welton, Daniel Booker, who's a freshman middle. Ryan Gant is not going to have another bad game, and I think he got that bad game out of the way when he played Huntington Beach, and he and his team played Huntington Beach. I think Brady Gant also aids Corona Del Mar's offense. I think the defense being anchored by Brogan Glenn is also going to be an X factor right there. I just think Corona Del Mar, this is kind of their year because they know if they can't win this year, winning the following years are going to be very tough with the graduation of Sterling Foley. But I got Loyola Corona Del Mar meeting in the CIF Southern Section Division I final, which will be on May 11th, a Saturday at Cerritos College. And again, if I'm wrong, I will gladly eat my crow, but I just think it's Loyola and Corona Del Mar's time. And this is no knock on Newport Harbor and Miracosta or any of the other teams, but I just think that Loyola has been strong for the most part this season, and Corona Del Mar is going to eventually figure it out because they seem to have the formula to beat Miracosta this season. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they have this one very talented player who's going to USC named Sterling Foley. All right, but that is that for some CIF Southern Section boys volleyball or high school boys volleyball in general. We only got 8 minutes, so we're going to try to speed this along rather quickly. So we got some Pro Volleyball Federation to discuss. Unfortunately, I won't go into a deep dive regarding it, but to recap this past week, last Tuesday we had the San Diego Mojo upending the Omaha Supernovas at Viejas Arena 3-2, which I thought was a very good win for the Mojo. The Mojo wound up winning it 19-25, 25-17, 25-22, 21-25, and 15-8. That's a big win for the Mojo, but you're going to find out that it actually does not matter because the Mojo, after they beat the Supernovas, 3 days after, they lost to the Vegas Thrill at Viejas Arena 3-2, which was quite a Debbie Downer. They actually almost came back to win the 5th set, but they wound up losing the 5th set by 2. The Thrill wound up winning the match altogether 25-21, 22-25, 25-17, 22-25, and 15-13. And then also on Friday, we had the Columbus Fury taking down the Orlando Valkyries in 4 sets, 22-25, 26-24, 25-12, and 25-15. And then we had the Omaha Supernovas outlasting the Grand Rapids Rise 3-2, 25-22, 23-25, 25-20, 16-25, and 15-7. And then on Sunday, we had the Columbus Fury sweeping the Grand Rapids Rise 25-21, 25-15, and 25-15. And also yesterday on CBS Sports Network, we had the Atlanta Vibe sweeping the Las Vegas Thrill 25-17, 25-20, and 25-20. With the win, the Atlanta Vibe have clinched not only a playoff spot, but they've clinched the number 1 overall seed. So they're the regular season champion, which is great for them. However, what really matters is the playoffs. Playoffs! Anyway, so as of this recording, later on tonight, the Orlando Valkyries and the San Diego Mojo will be concluding Week 14 of the Pro Volleyball Federation. I imagine this is a huge match for the Mojo. I would not be surprised if they had to go 5 again. They have to win this one just because the Valkyries are kind of on their coattails. And the Valkyries obviously had that tough loss to the Columbus Fury, which definitely does not do them any favors in terms of making the playoffs. Currently, the Valkyries are 6th in the Pro Volleyball Federation standings, while the Mojo are 4th. They had a chance to be 500, but unfortunately, they just could not beat the Las Vegas Thrill. Anyway, so that's that matchup. On Wednesday, the Valkyries have a very fast turnaround as they go from San Diego all the way to Las Vegas to take on the Vegas Thrill at Lee's Family Forum. Well, this is kind of the battle for the bottom, but this could be an elimination match, and this could be one of the matches that truly could matter between both of these teams. But for the Valkyries and the Thrill, this one is basically so important for both of them. And also that's for later. But Thursday, the Columbus Fury hit the road to the Gas South Arena to take on the Atlanta Vibe. So here's the thing for the Columbus Fury. They're actually playing better volleyball, and Jen B said it best in the chat room. Most confusing team in the Pro Volleyball Federation. The Fury continue to befuddle. Also got to give a shout to Marcus Losgreat and Larry B for also popping into the chat room. I appreciate you. But the Columbus Fury are indeed a definite confusing team. Now, if they somehow lose to the Vibe, the Omaha Supernovas get into the playoffs. Yeah, I will just say, as of this recording, the Omaha Supernovas have not clinched a playoff spot. They can clinch a playoff spot if they win their next match or if the Columbus Fury loses. Yeah, I'm befuddled by that too. But the Vibe versus Fury, as much as I think that the Fury are playing great volleyball as of late, I don't know if they'll win on the road. I think winning at Atlanta is going to be a chore for the Fury, but we'll see what happens. Then we have on Saturday, May 4th, we have a doubleheader. The San Diego Mojo take on the Grand Rapids Rise, and the Omaha Supernovas take on the Columbus Fury. So the Mojo and the Rise, they're actually not too far back from one another in the 3 and 4 spot, but the Mojo can get some added insurance if they win. They need to win this one, and the thing about the Mojo is that they actually have the most remaining matches as of this recording going into tonight's match against Orlando. And then the Grand Rapids Rise, they can get a little insurance on locking up the 3 seed sooner rather than later, but the Mojo have beaten the Rise 2 times already. I imagine the Rise are going to be raring to go. And then for the Supernovas Fury, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fury beat the Supernovas. But the Supernovas know they want to clinch a spot sooner rather than later. They're probably going to clinch a spot. It's inevitable, as Lincoln R. Neal said on X Forminos Twitter, or he told me that. It's inevitable the Supernovas make the playoffs. If for some reason the Supernovas fail to make the playoffs, I will retire from doing Set Point. But that's not going to happen! But I wouldn't be surprised if the Fury took down the Supernovas. Then on Sunday, the Mojo and the Rise meet again. Like I said before, this is a big-time matchup for both these teams. Playoff implications are on the line, and the Mojo, they kind of need all the wins that they can get just because the Columbus Fury are right on their coattails. They're actually a half game back of the Mojo, so we'll see what happens. And then next Monday, we have the Omaha Supernovas heading down to Lee's Family Forum to take on the Vegas Thrill. It's another big matchup. I mean, this one's probably going to have Supernovas written all over it. I don't think the Thrill outside of Hannah Maddox has been too great. I think the Supernovas are going to figure it out, and even if for some weird reason the Columbus Fury win their matches this week and the Supernovas lose to the Fury, they should win that matchup. All right, but that's a quick synopsis of the Pro Volleyball Federation here. A couple more minutes, and then we will get on out of here. So there is going to be some NVA action regarding, even though there's no season, there is going to be some NVA matches from what I am hearing. So, because I am your one-stop shop for all things NVA news, being Teran Rodriguez of Set Point. So, yeah, this upcoming Sunday, from what I'm hearing, we could be looking at some NVA matches between the Orange County Stunners, the Las Vegas Ramblers, and the San Diego Wild. And there might be the Utah Stingers in attendance as well. So, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be at Dana Hills High School, and action will be starting at noon Pacific time. I'll probably be there providing updates on Twitter or X, as y'all like to call it now. So that's just some quick little NVA rumors that are happening, but it's looking like it's most likely going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. It is time for me to drop the beat, because we only got 1 minute before Adam Carnick goes on. You feel me? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Set Point. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I greatly appreciate you. Shout out to Jen B, Marcus, Los Great, Mike, Pat, Larry B, and Ralph Cleese for all tuning in for a bit. I appreciate y'all. I will see you all tomorrow at Long Beach State for the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament, and Friday for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, most likely. Have yourself a great week. Please come to Long Beach State for the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament, and I will see you all soon. Peace!